Hello, I'm Ronnie,
I'm Abby.
and this is Dragons in the Details, where we pick apart our favorite fantasy series over the course of an undetermined number of episodes.
How are you, Ron? How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
It's a pretty gloomy day here, so it's a good day for
I know,
podcasting.
it's been raining all morning.
Yeah, but it's good because for our listeners, I have recently moved. I'll say moved to the beach. I live here now, at least for the foreseeable future. I still live where I used to live, but we're kind of splitting our time between two places. So I've gone to the beach every day this week, which has been awesome. But today it's just been pouring rain, and I'm like, great fucking day to podcast. Great, wonderful for me.
It does make me feel better about the fact that we spend our entire day
on Sunday,
basically, if the weather is bad.
I know. Derek was like, how long are you going to be podcasting for today? And I was like, this could be a 6-hour day. We have a lot to talk about in this episode.
I'm targeting 5.
Episode. I'm
that
also
would make me feel
5.
good.
Yeah. That's a little teaser that I am super excited about this episode and about the theories we're going to cover. I don't know how you feel about it, but I am.
I feel good, but I'm afraid about how it all comes together because it feels like both of these episodes are just webs for me that actually stem from later questions in the episode. So I don't know how it's going to go.
I feel the need that I have to tell you this right now. One theory I came up with in this episode, I think you might have gotten to the same place. I figured out when you were on a plane to Italy, and I literally started jumping up and down on the bed. Like Derek was sitting next to me and I went, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then I explained it to him and he was like, I don't really care. I don't really know what you're talking about and I don't really care. God damn it. I need Ronnie.
Which is interesting because I had a theory. We don't know if it's the same one. For our listeners, we try not to talk about the theories we come up with before we record because then our reactions are less genuine. And I came up with one on the way back from Italy and was like,
that'd be hilarious.
I was so down a rabbit hole that I wasn't even sure whether I was still making sense. So I was just like, I need to sleep on this. And then I came back to it this weekend. I'm like,
yeah, I will. I'm the same way. And I will tease our listeners too. I will say, I know a lot of episodes were like, hey, we don't have answers here. We just have more questions. I feel very strongly for this episode that at least I, and maybe you, if you're at the same point, have uncovered an answer here. I think we have an answer here and I'm really fucking excited about it. And I think it is a huge web. And I literally texted Ronnie. I was like, we have to move this episode up. We had a schedule. And I was like, we have to record this episode because it changes the way I see everything.
Interesting. Because I don't know that it changed that much about our next episode for me. I don't know.
Maybe not our next episode, but we'll get into it. We just have to talk about this now because I think it changes a lot. So anyway, that's a teaser. I hope you guys are excited for this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I also maybe want to bring up that most of what I have to say that's going to foundationally change everything is not in the ACOTAR only section.
Oh yeah, sorry guys, this is a Maasverse heavy episode. I'm sorry.
So we're gonna have our ACOTAR only section, but this is very much an episode where it is enriching for you to be able to proceed to the full Maasverse section of the episode.
I'm just going to shamelessly plug Maasverse at this point. If you're listening to these episodes, but you haven't read the full Maasverse, you're clearly a person who really loves this story. We go pretty deep on it and you want to know more about it. Just read the Maasverse. It's so good. And I understand maybe you haven't gotten there yet. People are busy. I totally get it. But especially after this episode, I get it. I know it's a lot to read. It's a lot to read. People are busy. I get it. But it's just, I think it's gonna enhance your enjoyment of ACOTAR so much. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're still gonna do a full ACOTAR only section, and it's good. It's interesting. Maasverse, heavy on the Maasverse this episode. We actually got a commenter on YouTube who called out I guess some people just like spoilers. Some people just think that spoilers give them something to look forward to. And so if you just want to stay, if you just want to hear how crazy it can get, that's cool, but you will be spoiled. So
yeah, absolutely. Up to you. I don't know if I've talked about this on this podcast. I'm that type of person who doesn't watch a horror movie, but will read the Wikipedia page for the horror movie because I want to know the story, but I'm too scared to actually go see the movie. I know there's a lot of us out there. I'm self-identifying as one of those people. So I get it. Sometimes you just want to know the mystery. You just want to understand what's happening without actually committing the full time to it. So if that's you, that's totally fine. We welcome you.
Yeah. I am a no spoilers girly, but I will say when I'm watching just like TV, like episodes of shows, I fully read the synopsis. I'm
Me too.
like, because I don't know, this is like a very much a problem associated with my generation, but like I don't ever watch a TV show without doing anything else. So I also just need to know what's going on.
Okay, I strongly disagree with that point, but that's fine.
That's my reality. All right. Well, in case you haven't caught on already, this season is focused on A Court of Thorns and Roses, the series, not the book, by Sarah J. Maas. Disclaimer, these episodes contain spoilers for the entire A Court of Thorns and Roses series. We've gotten a couple questions about it. We know that A Court of Thorns and Roses is also the title of the first book. This podcast has spoilers for all 5 published books. A Court of Thorns and Roses, Mist and Fury, Wings and Ruin, Frost and Starlight, and Silver Flames. All spoilers. We will have Maasverse spoilers later in the episode, but we segment those off so that if you've only read this series, you can stick around and be safe and not be spoiled, and then you can drop off when we announce Maasverse spoilers. Disclaimer as well that this podcast is rated R. Do not listen to it with your children because of who we are as people. We curse. If you want to know the nature of what's up in this rated R podcast, we curse and the books are spicy. And that's all you need to know. Each week we dive into a specific topic in depth. This week we are digging into the High Lords and Ladies of the Night Court. We are focused on Rhys's family. Reminder, right? Like you guys know, if you've been listening to us for a while, especially if you listen to our Empyrean coverage, we typically in the past have done full character deep dives. We realized very quickly in thinking about ACOTAR and talking about ACOTAR that if we were to just do Rhys and Feyre, it would be too big. At least from my perspective, it would be like literally a 3-parter. We're just naming the episodes differently.
Yeah.
This is all about Rhys's family, ancestry, cousins, relatives, whatever. We come with receipts always, so we have quotes to back up any theories so that you can follow along if you're skeptical. If not, that's cool too. We know that you guys sometimes ask in the comments, where did you find this? Where is this from? We're happy to answer. We don't bring anything onto this podcast unless we do have a quote or at least something to go off of behind it. Abby, announcements. Do we have any announcements?
I don't think we have any like specific announcements. You've already gone over the structure of the episode, so I don't think we need to talk about that. I will say, I feel like this episode alone, I think we already talked about this, but like this episode alone could end up being like easily 2.5 hours after we edit it. So just like strap in, guys. I hope you're along for the ride. It'll be great, though. I promise. The only other thing, you have been hearing new deep dive music this season. We play a little ditty before our deep dive sections. That music is brought to you by Schwoodley, SCHWOODLEY. You should check them out on Spotify. They're really great. All right.
Check
Do
them
we want
out.
to get into our fun question?
Well, first, do you have any corrections, omissions, or social media shoutouts for the class?
No.
Okay. I have one. I don't know whether you just maybe didn't segment it out as a shout out or you just forgot, but you asked in one of our recently published episodes about a fantasy book that came up in a rom-com, and I wanted to give Taylor credit for commenting. Do you want to share with the group?
I was going to bring this up in our reading corner. That's why I didn't have it now. But yeah, so I think it was our last 2 episodes ago, I think it was the Feyre Trials deep dives. I said, if anyone knows the name of this book that I'm thinking of, and I gave a very vague description of the book. I said it was described as a cozy romantasy where a girl owned a bookshop and then Faye came in and like, I don't know. That was truly the entire description I gave of the book. I said, if anyone knows the name of this book and can tell it to me, I will read it instead of just Googling the name because I want there to be an element of serendipity here. And Taylor, as you mentioned, she not only commented on the episode, she actually DM'd us directly on Instagram. And all she sent me, this was so funny, all she sent me was the name of the book. She just said, this spell shop in all caps with no context. And I just responded to her. I'm like, oh my God.
Straight to the point.
She was like, I was so hoping that you were going to understand what I was talking about. And I was like, yep, I got it immediately. She did it like the day the episode came out too. It was amazing. So I have not yet started the spell shop because I am deep in Throne of Glass world right now, but that has been added to my to be read list. So thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Taylor.
All right.
Okay.
Fun question. Do we want to do anything else on social media? Guys, just be nice. Just be fucking nice.
Just one like generic shout out. 80 to 90% of the comments that we receive are so kind and so awesome, even when you disagree with us. We love when people disagree with us. It's one of our favorite things about making this podcast. One thing that we've noticed with this fandom specifically, and I'm curious whether our quieter listeners feel the same way. There are a few very opinionated folks who are not so nice. And so what we ask of those folks, if you are listening to our podcast and if you choose to be here and you choose to participate, just be nice and respectful in the comments. And if you don't think that you can do that, then you don't have to be here, and that's okay.
Or at least
we
you
love
don't
you
have to
anyways.
comment. But like, I really don't think it's any of our listeners doing it. Like, I think it's mostly just people on social media. And we knew going in that this was an opinionated fandom. But like, you don't have to attack us. You don't have to attack us as people just because you don't agree with the things that we're saying about fake made up people. You know, like it's just, it's for fun. It's all for fun. So
it's books, guys. It's books about fake worlds and people. So
yeah,
just be kind.
Just be kind. That's it. All right.
Okay.
You ready for our fun question? All right.
Okay.
And guys, you normally, Ronnie and I prepare a fun question together, but I decided that for this one, I just wanted to have a fun question and I would just have her live reaction to it. Do you think that Azriel, Cassian, or more has ever hooked up with Rhys's sister?
Is the question, do I think one of them has, or which one do I think has, if any?
You can interpret it however you would like.
I think yes, maybe. And I think if anyone, Azriel.
I agree. That's what my answer was too.
Personally. Because we got Cassian's, like, he was alluding to a bit of romantic history for a hot minute. And we got the answer to that, which was the Valkyrie warrior from like way back when. Azriel, we know we know from Rhys has had lovers, even though we've never witnessed it.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing that gives me pause is like how big of a deal it was when Cassian hooked up with Mor and how Rhys like absolutely lost his mind.
Well, that's a follow-up question. Like, would Rhys know? Because Azriel is very good at keeping secrets.
Azriel is very good at keeping secrets.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to hide when you hook up with somebody in these books. Like, it's literally a smell.
Well, only when you're, oh yeah, I guess
no, not only when you're mated. Yeah, you just like smell like sex.
Yeah. Who knows? Rhys was away for a long time. There's a lot happening in those Illyrian war camps.
And we know very, very little about his sister. So
we do. That is certainly a conclusion I've come to at the end of this episode, is that we really know very, very little about his sister. Yes. And all these people out here making these crazy theories about his sister. I'm like, power to you, because I don't think there's that much to work with, but we'll get there. Cool. All right. Shall we deep dive?
Okay. Shall we deep dive?
Deep dive music.
You don't need to say it every time.
I know.
I promise I edited.
It makes me laugh. So.
Okay. All right. We're ready to deep dive. Let's go. Okay. Abby, would you like to give us an overview of Rhys's known family tree?
Yes, I would. And I will keep this brief because I know this isn't the most interesting part of the episode. So we know Rhys's father was the High Lord of the Night Court and Rhys's mother was an Illyrian. So Rhys's mother and Rhys's father met when he traveled to an Illyrian war camp. We know that she loved to fly. She was an Illyrian woman who loved to fly. But the Illyrians are horrible backwards people and they don't allow women to fly once they start menstruating. So she took a bunch of herbs and did a bunch of things to prevent herself from menstruating. But when she was 18, it happened anyway. And the guards captured her and she was like, I don't know, tied to a stake in the middle of the war camp about to be clipped. And then Rhys's father winnowed in. They locked eyes, as far as I can tell. They locked eyes from across the room. And he felt the mating bond fall into place. He misted the guards, which tells you the type of man that we're dealing with here. He literally misted them and turned them into nothing. And then he took her back home to the Night Court to marry her. She was 18. He was 900 years old. So that's a little icky, but it's fine. I guess that's what we get with Rhys and Feyre.
That is the most interesting point to Faye's lifespan, I think. That's the longest one I think we've seen that isn't sort of not Faye.
900 is the oldest Faye that we know of. Yeah.
In Prythian.
That is definitely fully 100% Faye.
Fully Faye. Yeah.
Yeah. Or is he? No, I agree. Don't know if you ever think about this, but I think about this a lot. Like the Faye children growing up and looking the same as their Faye parents. I think this even comes up at one point in the Maasverse, that it's kind of icky that at a certain point you just start to look the same because everyone looks like they're 25, right? Anyway, yeah, I think that would be really weird. Anyway, all right. So Rhys's mother was a lowborn seamstress at one of the Illyrian mountain war camps. So she is lowborn. no nobility in her blood. She is just kind of a regular lady who loved to fly, loved to make dresses. And again, Rhys's parents were mates. I have here the quote of Rhys misting the guards were that they locked eyes through the blood rain, which is how every great romance starts, as you know.
Of course.
Rhys's father was cold, calculating, and vicious. His mother was soft and fiery and beloved by everyone. They were wrong for each other. That is an exact quote. They were wrong for each other. Rhys's mother insisted that he learn kind of his heritage and learn how to train like an Illyrian, which of course is how we get Rhys traveling to the Illyrian war camp and meeting up with Cassian and Azriel. She also insisted he get a proper education, which is always very interesting because Rhys knows ancient Fae, knows a lot of the history that it seems like no one else really knows except Amren, and I'm going to say Eris, which is also interesting. She took in Cassian and Azriel. They all lived in the mountain hut together. Cassian, of course, was sleeping on the ground. Azriel also needed a place to stay. They all started living together and training together and became a pretty happy little family. During the war, Rhys's father got concerned about how powerful Rhys seemed to be becoming with Azriel and Cassian by his side. So when the war came, he separated their units. So Rhys talks about how every day he was worried he would never see Cassian and Azriel again, which is, of course, very devastating. And then we've already talked about in this podcast, but there is the story of how Rhys's mother, sister, and father were all killed. I don't think we need to dive into that again because we've already covered that at great length, and we will cover that again in this episode. Anything I missed, Ron?
Did we want to talk at all about Mor, Kyr, and Kyr's wife?
I honestly didn't do anything for them, but yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, the main point here is that Mor is a cousin of Rhys, and Mor's father is Kyr. Mor's mother is Mor's mother. I don't think we have a name for her unless I'm sorely mistaken. And they are distant cousins. And it said that Mor's family at one point was in power. That's really all we know there. I think it's kind of like an intentionally open mystery. Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting because it's certainly, her family certainly didn't start in power, right? And we'll get into that in this episode. But like, there has to have been a rebellion and then a reclaiming, basically, at some point. I think that's what has to have happened.
Yeah. We have this kind of like middle set of generations where we really don't know what happened. And seems like at some point during that, her family took power. Okay.
All right. Ronnie, could Rhys's mother and sister still be alive?
All right. So we've already discussed the events of this sort of in our Tamlin episode. So we know that this is a bit of a rehash, but I think it's important for the sake of this episode. They are Rhys's immediate family. So we should talk about what we think might have happened to them. So as a refresher, Rhys's account of events is that he was supposed to meet his mother and sister halfway to the Illyrian war camp while they journeyed to visit him. But he was training a new unit and decided to stay. So Tamlin and his father and his brothers went to ambush them, and Rhys believes that he himself was the target. We only have Rhys's kind of account and confirmation of this, but Rhys believes that he was the target of Tamlin and his father and his brothers. But when he wasn't there, Rhys wasn't there, they decided to just slaughter Rhys's mother and sister anyways. Rhys says that they put their heads in boxes and sent them down the river to the nearest war camp where they were found, and that Tamlin's father kept their wings as trophies. We know that this then triggered the events that led to Rhys and his father killing Tamlin's entire family, but Rhys saved Tamlin's life. That's kind of beside the point, but that was why it came up in the Tamlin episode. So Tamlin was there, and we know that Tamlin can shift other people into other things, and we're called to suspect something because Tamlin expresses guilt over the events, and he says he burns the wings that his father kept. We never actually lay eyes on the heads or the wings as witnesses to this book. So are they actually dead? That's the question we're asking ourselves here.
That is
As
the
a reminder.
question.
So Tamlin shifting someone or something else into Rhys's mother and sister for the purpose of faking their deaths and helping them escape obviously opens a world of possibilities. Like, that means that they could be anything or anyone. They could be animals in the forest, for all we know. But I want to offer one specific possibility that could mean that we see them again. And it's a bit of a reach based on what's available to us, but just want to talk about it. There is a concept of world traveling in this book. We see it in a few places, most obviously with Amren, the Bone Carver, and his siblings being blatantly from another world. That is not this one. We are told that. But we're hit on the nose with more possibilities than just their world, which is seemingly terrible. And I don't know that's the same world, by the way. in A Court of Silver Flames when Gwyn shares that Meryl is particularly obsessed with researching other worlds, other realms. She says that some philosophers believe there are 11 worlds, some believe there are 26. That's a lot of different realms and worlds to keep track of that one could potentially go to, since we know that world traveling is a thing. So we don't know how kind of these other beings, the Bone Carver, Striga, Koshche, got here. We don't know how Amryn, aside from kind of her business with the cauldron, really intended to leave. But like Tamlin and his family had connections with Hybern, who clearly have been after this cauldron, after these magical artifacts for some time. Like, could Tamlin have saved them and found a way to get them to another realm? Like, could we see them again? I think that door's been left open. But I don't think, at least I didn't have any definitive specific theories about people in Prythian that could be Rhys's mother and sister as of right now. But I'm curious your thoughts.
So I think there's, just to break this down a little more, they were talking about, and the second part of this hadn't actually occurred to me, but we're talking about four shiftings happening here, right? So like
Yes.
first, the heads,
Who
he
died?
shifted something else. I
Yeah.
don't even think it necessarily has to be a person, but maybe it does. But he shifted something or someone to look like Rhys's mother's and sister's heads to put in the box to send down the river, right? And he did all this without his father, seemingly, his father and brothers, like, knowing that this happened.
I think we should also, though, point out, like, yes, it would make way more sense if Tamlin did this, but we assume, and it's an assumption, that Tamlin's shifting power came from one of his parents. And so if it was, like, if his father could do the same thing, then maybe his father's on the table. I don't know. I don't think that's very likely, but I think it's they were both there.
That's true. But Tamlin seems to really hate his father.
Yeah.
Like, he really has nothing
Rhys at this time.
Yeah, like he says when his family was slaughtered, that the only person he mourned was his mother. So yeah, maybe that happened. And then the second shift, and this part hadn't even occurred to me, is that he shifts Rhys's mother and sister into looking like other people, and that they could just be anywhere, right? Maybe.
Or just shifted elements of them. Like, they were both Illyrian, right? Well, Rhys's sister was half Illyrian. So like, could he have shifted just them into themselves without the wings, so that they
wings
could be more easily disguised?
Yeah. But then why wouldn't they go back to Rhys, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I don't know, because Tamlin's father would just hunt them down and kill them again.
Yeah, but then Tamlin's father died.
Yeah, true.
I think this is a really interesting theory. Like, I think the door has totally been left open for it to be a possibility. And I've heard the theory that, like, the mercenary is Rhys's sister or something. Like, I just don't think there's enough there, because again, we know so little about her. Like, we really, like, Rhys's sister is not given a lot of page time, but she's spoken of with much, like, affection and warmth and respect when she is spoken about. I also think, and you talked about this a little bit, but like, Tamlin seems really, really guilt-ridden over this. Like, we have some quotes, I think it's in Frost and Starlight, where Tamlin asks Rhys if he can ever forgive him. So Tamlin says, "Do you forgive me for your mother and sister?" Rhys says, "I don't recall ever hearing an apology, as if an apology would ever make it right, as if an apology would ever come to cover the loss that still ate at me, the hole that remained where their bright, lovely lives have once glowed." And then Tamlin says, and in my mind, kind of like, just for context, because I know sometimes I just jump into quotes. This is Frost and Starlight. This is Tamlin, like, at his lowest moment. He literally has, like, no one works for him anymore. He's in the villa. It's like totally disheveled, covered in vines, total man dude cave. He's literally just hunted down a deer, but he doesn't have anyone to, like, break down the deer. So he's just, like, clawing at it, basically. And Rhys finds him. Like, this is Tamlin at his lowest.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, if there was a moment for him to say, "Rhys, I didn't kill your mother and sister, they're still out there," this would be the moment, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't say that. He says, "I don't think an apology would make a difference anyway for either of you," right? And the other person is Feyre, because he feels he owes Feyre an apology. So, like, yes, I think it's possible, but I just don't. I feel like we would know by now. Tamlin would have told Rhys, like, "They're still out there, you should go find them," or something like that. Unless it's what you're saying and it's this world walking thing, and somehow Tamlin has that power. And, like, it's such a big secret that he can't tell Rhys. The other thing that I thought was interesting here, we do have in ACOTAR the fairy from the Summer Court, who Tamlin finds at his border, whose wings have been, I don't know what fairies have wings in the Summer Court and blue skin, but that's a different conversation. But he finds this fairy at his border. He brings him all the way home, back to his villa, right, from the Spring Court border to the court villa, right? Puts him on the table and like basically just stays with him while he dies, right? And the whole thing feels like it's about so much more than just this fairy. Like this fairy is like a stranger. So Feyre mentions how much grief like Tamlin seems to feel about this. She says, if he felt such grief, such guilt over a stranger, then Andros, by the time I opened my mouth, he was already down the steps. I watched him, watch every movement he made, the muscles of his body visible through the blood-soaked tunic. Watch that invisible weight bearing down on his shoulders. I feel like the invisible weight is him thinking about what happened to Rhys's mother and sister. Like, I just feel like there's so much guilt that Tamlin has that, like, I feel like, yes, like magically there's a way this could not have happened, but like story-wise, I think it did happen. I think that is part of his like character arc.
Yeah, because even if we're told that Rhys, and we're shown that Rhys really doesn't abuse his Daemati powers, but you would think that he would make sure, and maybe his father would make sure as well, that everything that happened had actually happened. So it just feels, the door is open. I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, I agree. The door is open, but it feels like character-wise, it's probably not what happened, at least
not like something that Tamlin knows.
Something that Tamlin knows, or I was going to say without a door to another world being opened somehow. Like with Amren and the death gods.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, cool. All right, Abby, why would Rhys's mother give the Weaver her ring?
All right. So this one has always kind of struck me as very weird. This, even on my first read, I was like, this feels like a weird move for Rhys's mother to do. Also, you want to talk about not having names for people. We don't have names for anyone in Rhys's family, which kind of really bothers me.
No last name, no first names. Like,
nothing.
Why?
Nothing.
We have thoughts on why, but like, it's noteworthy.
Yeah. All right. So the scenario here, there's two scenarios here. I'll talk through the first scenario. So the scenario here, which we find out after Feyre has gone and retrieved the ring from the from the Weaver, is that we find out that Rhys's mother gave the ring to the Weaver for safekeeping when Rhys kind of reached the age when he would be looking for a mate, a wife, etc. So the quote is, "My mother gave me that ring to remind me she was always with me, even during the worst years of my training. And when I reached my majority, she took it away. It was an heirloom of her family, had been handed down from female to female over many, many years. My sister wasn't yet born, so she wouldn't have known to give it to her, but my mother gave it to the Weaver. And then she told me that if I were to marry or mate, then the female would either have to be smart or strong enough to get it back. And if the female wasn't either of those things, then she wouldn't survive the marriage. I promised my mother that any potential bride or mate would have the test. And so it sat there for centuries," right? So Rhys's mother basically said, you're not marrying anyone unless she's smart enough to get this ring back from the Weaver, which is fucking crazy, right? Like, the Weaver is a death god. Like, what the hell?
And like, how did she get it there? Like,
how did she
who is Rhys's mother that she can just do that?
Well, so my first thought, I don't have notes on this because I couldn't find anything to really back this up. But my first thought was, is the Weaver in Rhys's family? Like, is she in Rhys's family line? And is that why? Because he said it was handed down from female to female for generations. So I'm like, okay, so is she a female in his family? We can get to that later. But that was my first thought. I don't have a ton to back that up. So why Feyre goes to retrieve the ring. The scenario is the Bone Carver tells Rhys and Feyre that the only way to nullify the cauldron is to retrieve the Book of Breathings, right? Which is a made item. And that only someone who is made can speak the spells and summon its power. But Rhys decides that they need to test that theory. So that is what's happening here, right? This is a test run for Feyre to find a made item. So the book is also being like protected by spells that are like keyed to Tarkin, who's the High Lord of Summercourt, right? They're keyed to Tarkin's blood. So Rhys thinks Feyre might be able to track the book, both break the spells, like deceive the spells, and track the book because she has a kernel of Tarkin's power. But they want to test that theory. So this is the way that Rhys is testing that theory, right? He's like, okay, this is something of mine that has a kernel of my power. So this is something of mine. She is a kernel of my power. Let's go to the Weaver's cottage and see if she can find that. I'm a little I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of that theory. I think this is kind of a weird theory, because the Bone Carver doesn't say anything about Feyre being able to track or use the book because she has a kernel of Tarkin's power. He said he would be able to track it because she was made, right? So it's not about like that High Lord's kernel of power. It's about her being made. And then Rhys is like, oh, let's test this theory on this ring, right?
Yeah.
When Feyre finally finds the ring, she sees it on the shelf. She says, a ring of twisted strands of gold and silver flecked with pearl and set with a stone of deepest solid blue, sapphire, but different. I'd never seen a sapphire like that, even at my father's offices. This one, I could have sworn in the pale light, the lines of a six-pointed star radiated across the round, opaque face. Then she says, hello, it seemed to say, have you come to claim me at last, right? So she says it seems to say that, but she hears the ring talk to her. What else do we hear talk to her? Made objects, right? Like made objects are constantly talking to Feyre, right? So the book says, hello, liar, will you read me? Hello, sweet thing. Hello, lady of night. Hello, princess of decay. Fang beast and trembling fawn. Love me, touch me, sing me. Hello, lovely, wicked liar. The harp, when Nesta finds the harp, again, she says it seemingly talks to her, but we know that the book has talked to Feyre. And the harp says, play me, let me sing again, join your voice with mine. We shall open doors and pathways, which you were talking about before. We shall move through space and eons together. Our music will free us of earthly rules and borders. So is the ring somehow tied to made objects? I don't know that I think the ring itself was like dipped in the cauldron necessarily, but does it somehow have like a kernel of this made power? And did Rhys's mother know that Rhys would need to find a mate who was made somehow, right? We know Feyre is made. We know she has this connection to the cauldron. Like, is that what was really going on here? Is kind of my theory. Little loose. Definitely a slightly loose theory. It might be nothing, might be something. But then it's like there's this piece of it about how Feyre finds the ring, right? So Feyre finds the ring and stays hidden from the Weaver as long as she is thinking about the link between herself and Rhys, right? So as long as she's thinking about the made part of her, she's able to stay hidden. It's only when she starts acknowledging the human side of her that the Weaver actually like recognizes that she's in her cottage. So it's not like when she takes the ring. It's when she starts to think about her humanity. So the quote is, maybe I was as much a monster as the female spinning before me, but if I was a monster, then I supposed Rhys was as well. Rhys and I were one and the same, beyond the power that he'd given me. And that is the moment when she finds the ring, right? It's when she's recognizing this connection, this made connection, potentially, between her and Rhys. That is when she finds the ring. And then it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the book. It opens to Feyre when she acknowledges the Fae, the made part of herself. It won't open for her when she's pretending to be Tarkin, but then when she acknowledges the made part of herself, that's when the book opens. So the quote for that is, unmade and made, made and unmade, that is the cycle, like calls to like. I pushed my hand harder, so tired I didn't care about the thoughts tumbling out. The made and unmade thoughts were from Feyre. The bits and pieces that were a part and yet not a part of me. Heat and water and ice and light and shadow. Curse breaker, it called to me, and the box clicked open. So it's like the same idea where we have these two objects, one definitely made, one maybe made. And when she acknowledges that part of herself, that's when she can like find the object, use the object, wield the object, so to speak.
Yeah. I think the ring definitely can be made without having to go to the length of, because the cauldron was lost for a long time, right? Like, just because it wasn't dipped in the cauldron doesn't mean it couldn't have been made. Like, plenty of made items have been created not through that method.
Right.
Specifically, people who have been made can create made things.
Right.
So I don't think it's like that much of a stretch to say that that ring could be made by somebody else who was made.
Yeah.
It's forged.
Yeah, it's forged. We haven't had any indication of its powers yet, and we may never, right? We may never, but there is that like that unearthly sapphire. She'd never seen a sapphire like that. Like, what is that? Where did that come from? And then there's the six-pointed star, right? So like, what do these things mean? Like, why did Sarah J. Maas put those details in? I think they probably are leading somewhere, unless she's decided to drop the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then the only other note I had, which we talked about before, is that the Weaver realizes Feyre is in the cottage when she acknowledges the human part of her. Also kind of what happens with the Middengard worm too in her trial, right? So when she cloaks herself, when she covers herself, it's a replay of the Middengard worm trial, right? So as long as she is kind of cloaking herself in these Fae thoughts, like acknowledging the Fae part of her, she's safe. As soon as she switches to human, as soon as she starts to think about the human side of her, like it's done. The Weaver smells her, basically. And they're both blind, right? They both rely on scent. Like there's a lot of similarities between these two things.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And it's also interesting to think about why both Striga and the worm would be interested in targeting a human over Fae. Because even the worm, like, yes, it was in canals in the ground, but like, I'm sure it could have gotten out of
Grabbed
their
one
head
of the
it so
Fae.
choosed. And it
Yeah.
was being watched by an entire audience of Fae. That's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like,
I don't have an
we
answer.
know that Striga is from another world. Like, could the worm be too?
Oh,
Could
certainly.
they both be
Yeah.
interested in humans and somehow allies to the Fae? I don't know.
Or allies to something else. I don't know. I think we did get a question. Someone commented on our Feyre's trial episode. She was like, I thought you would go into the worm. I think we're going to do a creatures episode, a Prythian
Yeah.
creatures episode. We'll get
Yeah.
into the worm. We'll get into the surreal.
I also am not so sure that the surreal is. I don't know that I would classify the surreal as a creature, but I'm
I have
happy
a
to talk
lot
about them as
of
creature.
thoughts on the surreal. Like a lot of thoughts on the surreal and where it
Yeah.
might have come from and what it is and why it exists. So
Yeah.
maybe that's a different
I
episode.
think the surreal might need its own episode, to be honest.
I'm happy to do it.
We'll see where it gets.
I have a lot to think about with that one.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for the ring?
I mean, so much of this question, I felt the need to talk about it in our next ones. I agree with you.
Great.
I mean, I think there could so easily be nothing more than Rhys's mother just wanting to test whether this mate or bride of Rhys's was going to be a true equal. Like, I totally acknowledge that's possible. But to your point, like, it's very specific, and the ring itself is very specific. Like, there's no way that she could have known, unless something else is going on, that even that Feyre would have, like, a kernel of Rhys's power to, quote, recognize this ring with. Like, even if that were the link, right? And we just talked about, like, the definition of being made.
There's a lot to being made that we haven't covered yet, but we have been told that Feyre was made, right? We'll say that.
We're told that Feyre is made, but like we're also told that a lot of other things are being made by being dipped into the cauldron. And Feyre was just brought back to life by the High Lords. So like, what is the High Lord? Are the High Lords made? Like, yeah, there's too much to get into on that. So
guys, we will get to that. We fucking will. I have so many thoughts on that. But yeah, it makes no sense. And this is like, I think, a big question with Feyre. Why does Feyre have a connection to the cauldron at all? Right? She has nothing to do with the cauldron. Why does she have this connection? Why is she made with a capital M? Right?
Yeah.
We'll get into it. Not this episode, but we will get into it.
All right. So the next question that we asked ourselves is, how did Rhys's mother seem to know so much about the woman he would marry? So kind of in a similar vein, right? Rhys's mother leaves Rhys's bride's wedding ring with the Weaver, knowing, or actually guaranteeing, that she would not really be Rhys's bride unless she was able to overcome that, which again is like a lot of very specific things about Feyre made it true that she was able to retrieve that ring from the Weaver. And Rhys definitely knew that. Rhys knew she was his mate at this point, would not have sent her in there if he did not genuinely believe that she would come out, obviously.
Oh my God, people get so mad about Rhys about doing that, about sending her into the cottage.
He was there. I mean, like, the one thing we didn't talk about in the last question, actually, is that Cassian definitely knew. The reason that we know that Cassian knew that Rhys's mother left a wedding ring with the Weaver is the quote, and in the aftermath, when Feyre says, "That's what this was also about. I spat not just this stupid ring. I reached into my pocket, slamming the ring down on the table, or my abilities, but if I can master my panic." Cassian swore, again, his eyes on that ring. And he later says in that same paragraph, "You're a prick, Rhysand." Cassian says quietly.
Yeah,
like,
Cassian knows.
Knew.
But is it more in the room too, in that scene?
I can find out.
Or is it just, I know Amren's there, but I don't remember if
Amren is there. I don't know whether more was.
Yeah, Cassian 100% knows.
But Cassian lived with them. So I actually don't think it would be that crazy if Cassian knew and more didn't. Because, like, Cassian was probably there when Rhys's mother took it back.
Yeah.
Because it was with him for a time so that he would know that she was with him at training, and then she took it.
And he could have just known that it was her wedding ring without knowing the, like, promise between Rhys and his mother. Like, that's totally fair. But, like, yes, he 100% recognized that ring.
Yeah.
Obviously, right? And that's not that crazy, as you said, the moment Feyre put it on the table.
Yes. Okay, anyways, back to this question. How did Rhys's mother seem to know so much about the woman that he would marry? So Rhys's mother, we've talked about this a little bit, right? But was an Illyrian woman with no other documented abilities. But she was a seamstress in the war camps before she met Rhys's father. And after she was mated, she kept making dresses. Rhys revealed that she made every gown that Feyre has ever been given. A trousseau for my future bride was the way that Rhys described it. And then she also, of course, left that ring with the weaver for Feyre to retrieve, and he later shares that Rhys's mother always intended for it to be with his bride. I don't think we necessarily need to believe that Rhys's mother knew exactly who Feyre would be, like, seen Feyre literally, but more was able to predict the qualities of Rhysand's, like, ideal mate. So I'll say, like, before I talk about crackpot here, like, I don't think there needs to be more going on here. But there are some fun questions to ask, regardless, as always. First, how did his mother even successfully leave the ring with the weaver? So, like, could there be more going on with Rhys's mother? She had to have been clever enough herself to maneuver that, or know someone who could. And she also, I'm thinking back to what you said, this is kind of off the cuff, but like, what was undetectable by the weaver was being
Rhys.
Was being Rhys. Yeah.
This is why you should read the whole Maasverse in my opinion.
Yeah. So anyways, like, open question, right? I don't think I have a great answer for it in this section, but like, how did she leave the ring with the weaver? Second, Feyre's gowns always fit. They always fit. Like, it's probably nothing. It's probably just Nuala and Sarah Dwyn are just like good tailors and just tailor it to whatever her size is. But could there have been more to Rhys's mother? Like, could she have been a seer? Could she have known a seer? Like, could there be something here that could have let her know that Rhys would have a bride, that bride would be made, something that allowed her to make all this huge wardrobe of gowns that were all perfect and all fit? And then finally, I want to go back to the specific line that you already read about that ring.
Is it about? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, the ring. The star sapphire gleamed in the candlelight as if it were one of the starfall spirits trapped in stone. We have had imagery in this book of souls encased in rings. These starfall spirits, we don't really have confirmation as to like exactly what they are, who they are, but they're described here as a spirit, and I don't think that's unintentional. Like, is this ring the carrier of a soul? We know that Rhys's mother gave it to Rhys so that Rhys would feel like she was always with him in training. Could it be hers? Could it be a seer's soul? Like, could it be somebody or something that made it detectable to Rhys, detectable to Feyre, detectable to Rhys's mother? And is it the carrier of a soul that could have given her some power or told her something? I don't know.
Her being Rhys's mother, not her being Feyre.
Rhys's mother.
Her being Rhys's mother. Yeah. I mean, yes, we don't know enough, I think, and we'll get into the six-pointed star later in the Maasverse section. Sorry, guys. What I think is really interesting about Rhys's mother potentially being a seer is that she seems to only know about Feyre, right? Because if she was killed, if Tamlin did kill her, she didn't know about that, right? She didn't see that coming and like try to prevent it.
Yeah.
So, like, it seems like she's not a seer the way that Elaine was a seer, potentially, but, like, something about Feyre she could have known. It's possible. Again, I would say I'm not, like, 100% sold that this is, like, definitely a thing. This could totally all be nothing, but it's fun to talk about either way.
To talk about. Yep. Okay. Anything else on that one?
I do, but maybe I should save it. I'll put it out here now, and we will follow up on it later. We also know that Rhys's mother was experimenting with illegal herbs. Right, to stop her period. And that was a detail that was thrown in there. And guys, you got to think about when authors write books, every word, there's like a page limit, right? So like every word that is chosen on the page is there for a reason. So experimented with illegal herbs. We know a lot of times illegal herbs give you visions, give you kind of sights into the future. In our world, people claim that. In this world, people claim that too. So could she have seen another world with these illegal herbs? Could she have seen the future? Could she have had glimpses, visions, etc.? I think it's possible. Again, I don't think we have confirmation.
Yep.
Cool.
All
right.
Okay, guys.
That's our ACOTAR section.
A little bit shorter than our usual ACOTAR section. However, there's just plenty of great Maasverse content. So if you have read Throne of Glass and Crescent City in their entireties, please stay. We've got lots more to talk about. If you have not and you don't want to be spoiled, you should leave. And we love you, and we suggest maybe you use this time to pick up one of those books. It's worthwhile, guys. It really is. This is not an advertisement, obviously, but it's just more fun to read across the universes. So we love you, even if you never do that, though. You're welcome to just keep listening to the ACOTAR only sections. It's a good time. And love you, bye to our ACOTAR only readers.
Love you, bye.
All right, if you're still here, I'll say one more time. You should have read all of Throne of Glass and all of Crescent City and all of ACOTAR while we're being complete. And this is the Maasverse section of our episode. I actually have butterflies in my stomach about
guys,
how the heck
this is where we start
section.
cooking. All right, this is where the season begins. Remember last episode I said we haven't even begun yet? Like, this is it. This is it. All right.
I don't know whether we're going to the same place based on some of the things you just said. So I'm super curious what you have to say.
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Maybe we are. I don't know. We'll see. Okay.
We'll see.
So the first question of our Maasverse section is a revisit of a question from the last section, which you guys probably, if you have read the rest of the Maasverse, you were probably shouting into your podcast device, whatever it may be, at that moment when we were talking about Rhys's mother and sister and other realms. Like, what about the other realms? So this is where we're going to talk about that. Abby, could Rhys's mother and sister still be alive?
All right. So there is an obvious person who Rhys's sister or mother, I suppose, but I really think sister could be, right? And that is Ruhn Damon's mother in Crescent City, who does have a name. Her name is Lauren. We are given a name for her. When Bryce meets Rhys in House of Sky and Breath, she says, and I quote, the winged dark-haired male who stepped in behind her. Bryce gasped. Ruhn? The male blinked. His eyes were the same shade of violet blue as Ruhn's, his short hair the same gleaming black. The male's skin was browner, but the face, the posture, it was her brother's. His ears were pointed too, though he also possessed those leathery wings like the two other males. So we are getting strong genetic connections here between Rhys and between Ruhn. We know that Ruhn's father is the High Lord of the Autumn Court, has red hair like Bryce, does like Ruhn clearly does not really take after him genetically. His mother, Lauren, has dark hair, is from Avalon, is related to Cormac and the King. Ruhn inherited his mind-speaking ability from her line, but she herself does not have that power. So she herself is not a Daemati. We'll get into that in a little bit, but she does have the dark black sapphire, or the dark black raven hair and the deep blue sapphire, almost violet like eyes. So there's a strong genetic component here. So could Tamlin have possibly opened a portal to the Crescent City world and put Lauren in there? It's possible, right? Because in Throne of Glass, I know Selena has to get all the freaking word keys and get the 3 of those, but like not in the original and not in the early books, right? In the early books, you can just open a portal with word keys. They don't stay with word marks. They don't stay open for long, right? But if Tamlin somehow knows word marks, and we'll get into it kind of either later in this episode or later in a different episode, like there are word marks in this world. Most likely there are word marks in this world, right? So if Tamlin somehow has knowledge of these word marks, could he have opened a portal and saved them somehow? And what he would have to have done, because I was also thinking, well, Lauren had wings. Wouldn't Ruhn have wings in that case? But if he shifts her to a Fae who doesn't have wings, you have pointed out that when you get pregnant, you give birth to kind of the form you were in, because Feyre had wings and then Nyx had wings, right? So if he shifted her that way, if he got rid of her wings, if he put her and glamored the minds of the people in Crescent City, right? Because we know that Tamlin can glamour people. We know that Maeve can glamour people this way too, right? Maeve did this. Maeve did this in Throne of Glass. She convinced people that she was part of their family. Mm-hmm. Could he have put Lauren in the Crescent City world to kind of save her and keep her safe? I feel the same way about this that I did previously. Yes, magically, he could have done that. However, Lauren as a character, who, by the way, we only meet in a bonus chapter. She's not even in the main story, right? Like, she sucks.
Well, we meet her in the main story, but we don't learn her name.
We don't learn her name. She's like barely on the page. Like, we get a bonus chapter with her and Ruhn. Ruhn uses the words "out to lunch" to describe her, right? Like, there's a scene where her air conditioning was broken for a month because she was like too afraid to call a plumber. I don't know, an AC repairman to fix it, right? Like, she's
a plumber.
Who do you call to fix AC? I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to know.
Person?
Thank you. An HVAC person. Okay, right. So she goes 2 weeks without AC in the height of summer. Sarah J. Maas says a handyman, all right, instead of calling a handyman. She's also like in love with the Autumn King who fucking sucks. So like, again, like, yes, I do think from a magic perspective, this is possible, but she's such a weak character. And I just don't think that Sarah J. Maas would write Rhys's sister that way. But maybe.
Yeah.
She also, here's kind of my nail in the coffin for why this doesn't work. The concept of mind speaking seems completely foreign to her. So again, in this bonus chapter, we find out about the first time that Ruhn found out that he had mind speaking abilities. So basically what he does, he asks for his mother to give him a sandwich, but into her mind, right? He speaks into her mind. The quote is, she screamed when she'd heard him in her mind. And in that moment, he'd known that the gift was something to hide, to keep secret. When she'd rubbed her head, clearly wondering if she'd imagined things, he'd kept quiet, right?
Yeah.
If she's Rhys's sister, she knows about the Daemati, right? Like, she wouldn't find this foreign. She might still have Ruhn try to keep it quiet, but like, she wouldn't be scared of it, right? So
yeah.
Do I think this could have happened? Yes. Do I think Lauren is Rhys's sister? No. That's how I feel about it. How do you feel about it?
I think it's story-wise is tough. If you put gun to my head and said, do you think that Rhys's sister is Lauren Dunnell? I would say no.
Right.
There are a couple other points that I had that linked them, and it was all in that bonus chapter. So the fact that we only got her name in the bonus chapter, to me, is actually maybe this is something, because that's like a puzzle piece that would be like maybe too overt to put into the main story. Like, maybe we're going to find out that Rhys's sister's name is Lauren. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
but
that would be
specifically, yeah. Well, there have been wilder crossovers before. Hello, Bryce Quinlan. My name is Rhysand. The wildest ever.
Chills. Okay.
So, like you said, same exact looks, and Rhys and Ruhn look so alike that Bryce literally thought that Rhys was Ruhn. We also know that Selene looks a lot like Rhys's sister. Asriel specifically points this out. That's the other reason I think that Asriel slept with her, if anybody did.
I know.
Why are you looking at her so much, man? And Lauren, in this bonus chapter, this is like so obscure, but she specifically piles orange and grapefruit onto a plate for Ruhn, citrus, and Rhys's scent is citrus and salt. So, to me, indisputably, they're of the same lineage. Like, whether it's his sister or not, like, they are the same line. And I don't think any of us are, like, arguing against that point necessarily, unless you are. I think story-wise, it's really hard to work out that he is her sister because of the personality traits. However, and this is a reach, I'm going to say it's a reach because people are going to be mad. Definitely not his mom, because we know that his mom was like fiery and, you know, literally kicked and screamed to keep her wings. We don't know much about Rhys's sister. Could she have been very docile? Totally possible. Could whoever moved her there glamored her mind to remain that way? Say, hey, I need you to be here. I need you to stay alive. I need you to just go with the flow. Like, whatever you're asked to do, just like deal with it. Because it doesn't make sense based on who her son is either. Like, Ruhn is certainly not a docile man.
It's true.
So, like, nothing else around her, above or below, really makes sense with her personality. So could she have been glamored to behave a certain way? Like, just go, just behave, stay alive, stay safe. That's all I'm asking of you.
Which we've seen Tamlin do. Which we saw Tamlin do to Elaine and to Papa Archeron. Kind of the exact same scenario.
Yeah.
And I just had a really terrible thought. But this kind of makes sense, right? Because we know that Rhys's mother loved her wings so much, right? Like, if maybe Tamlin kind of, this is, guys, these are theories, okay? We're just throwing this out here, right? But like, maybe Tamlin was like, I can save your life, but you have to give up your wings. And she was like, no, I'd rather you kill me. But his sister was like, I will take this. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty devastating. Yeah. I like that. I like that theory that maybe, because out to lunch, right? Ruhn describes her as out to lunch.
Yeah.
If she's glamored.
And she's not Daemati, so she can be.
Well, and she doesn't even remember what Daemati are, right? So that would also imply, which is kind of weird because there are Daemati in this world, right? It's specifically on Avalon, there are Daemati in this world, right? So why is she so surprised when Ruhn speaks into her mind? Like, her family members. Fuck, Ron, I love when you do this.
But I still think the story point holds. Like, it's really so I guess the storyline that works is Tamlin says, "Hey, I can save you," or someone. I'm not even convinced it's Tamlin anymore, but someone says, "Hey, I can save you. I can get you into this other realm. You got to be willing to give up your wings. You got to just go with the flow." Rhys's mother says, "I'd rather die. Cut my throat." Fine, that happens. Rhys's sister says, "No, I'm like, okay, I'll do this." She's shifted to look like her without her wings, basically. And her mind is glamored like, "Hey, you need to like not freak out, don't freak out, behave in Avalon," I guess was where she started. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you might be married off, just deal with it. Like just deal with it. You don't remember anything about this world. You don't remember anything about Daemati. Just go exist in
Yeah, like
Lunathian.
starting her as a blank slate.
Yeah. And then she has
well,
Ruhn, who has all those qualities. He's a spiteful Daemati male who looks the same as Rhys. The same.
Okay, also, I just need to get this off my chest right now, and this is kind of a tangent. Ruhn has to be an incest baby. Like, he has to be, because he's clearly Celene's descendant through his mother.
Yeah.
But he gets the starborn, but him and Bryce both have the starborn from their father. Or Bryce's mother is much more interesting than we've been led to believe so far. Her name is escaping me right now.
Ember. But
Ember, yeah.
He gets the starborn from his father, but Selene is an ancestor of his mother. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the way it has. Like, so at some point, whatever. It's like thousands of it's like 15,000 years.
So he could be getting the starborn from his mother if his mother is Rhys's sister.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. It's like I drew this out. I know this. Yeah. Selene is starborn, but if Lauren is Rhys's sister, then he could be getting the starborn through Selene. But Einar still has to be starborn, actually, because Bryce is from Einar, so...
Unless Ember is,
yeah.
Is starborn, which would be, guys, not our Crescent City season, but, like, yes, potentially.
Anyways, in conclusion, could Rhys's mother and sister still be alive? I'm leaning pretty hard towards no on Rhys's mother. I'm leaning maybe on Rhys's sister.
It'd be fun. I really like that theory that she's been glamored. That puts all these pieces together for it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, she seems perfectly absent, so it's...
Out to fucking lunch. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Ronnie, why does Feyre's wedding ring have a 6-pointed star on it?
Okay. We've got to do a little bit of backdrop here to make this work, but I'm going to try and keep it brief because I think we've got a bunch of questions coming up with a lot of backdrop. So we've talked about this ring extensively, right? Feyre's wedding ring was passed down to Rhys by Rhys's mother, who was Illyrian. Feyre retrieves the wedding ring from the Weaver of the Wood, aka Striga. When she sees it, it's described as, we've read it like 3 times on this episode, sapphire but different. I'd never seen a sapphire like that, even at my father's offices. This one, I could have sworn that in the pale light, the lines of a 6-pointed star radiated across the round, opaque surface. The main avenues of Lunathian form a 6-pointed star. Those avenues connect the gates, and we know that the gates are kind of used as like, they were old school landlines, basically. But Bryce uses one of those gates to communicate with Danica, who's dead. So there's a ton of family tree stuff here, but I'm just going to cut to the chase here and say that we know that Rhysand is confirmed a descendant of Fionn and Thea, and most likely from Selene specifically. We know this because Helena and Selene are the daughters of Fionn and Thea, who were originally from Prythian, and Thea in particular chose the island that in ACOTAR is the prison as her home. We know from Selene's monologue in Crescent City that Thea only deemed herself and her descendants worthy of tending to the island. In A Court of Mist and Fury, we learn that the prison, that island, is keyed to Rhys's blood. So Rhys is a member of that descending lineage that Thea deemed worthy of having access to the prison. I don't have a super complex answer here. I believe that the ring was an heirloom from Selene and her husband, High Lord of the Night Court. We know that Selene was on Midgard and escaped from Midgard back to Prythian and locked all the other Fae out of Prythian, which was kind of a terrible thing to do. Bryce gets very mad about it, famously. He keys that island that's now occupied by the prison to her blood. Rhys is a descendant. We know that that ring was passed from woman to woman. And that ring has the traces of Lunathian on it. You look like I went somewhere you didn't expect me to go, or you have
totally
more to say.
did, which was fucking amazing. But so what you're saying, which had not even occurred to me, is that Rhys is a descendant of Thea through his mother, not through his father.
Through his mother. Yeah, I think it's through his mother.
I love that. And that would make sense because then Mor's father would be the one who was originally the High Lord of the Night Court.
Yeah.
I love that. That had not occurred to me. That had not occurred to me at all.
So, like, what's in the ring? I think there's a spirit in the ring. I don't know whose it is. I don't think we know enough to know whose it is. Like, I refuse to believe that Feyre saying that it looked like there was a spirit from Starfall encased in the sapphire. Like, I refuse to believe that's nothing. But I think this ring is from Lunathian and that it's been passed down from Selene.
So you think Selene got the ring and Lunathian took it back and it has been passed down through Rhys's mother's family, which would also mean through the starborn women, right?
Yes. And maybe it's a kernel of First Light or something that is just not recognized in Prythian.
Okay. You totally blew my mind. I love that. I fucking love
really?
that.
I thought that's where you were going to go. Okay, you go. Where were you going to go?
Okay, so Hypaxia. I end up at a pretty similar place, but I got there differently. Hypaxia, who's a witch in Crescent City, uses a 6-pointed star to commune with the dead, right? Yeah. So Ethan Holstrom wants to talk to his brother Connor. The way that Hypaxia attempts to do that, if fails, is that she draws a 6-pointed star on the ground, which Ethan also notes is exactly like the layout of Lunathian. Hypaxia says it's a symbol of balance. She explained moving away a foot, but keeping the dagger at her side. 2 intersecting triangles, male and female, dark and light, above and below, and the power that lies in the place where they meet. So it's a very powerful symbol. I think there's a couple options here. There's like the classic literary options. So like the 6-pointed star is just representation of like Rhys and Feyre, right? So the symbol of balance, male and female, it's Rhys and Feyre meeting as equals. That one's fucking boring. The link to Hypaxia, I think, is kind of interesting because it could mean that she's potentially a link. This links her to the witches, right? It links her to Hypaxia. Whether the witches in Crescent City are the same as the witches in Throne of Glass, we don't quite know, but it links her to Hypaxia and the witches. There are, and then this all links back. There are also in Throne of Glass witches world, there are seers, right? There are witches who ingest herbs, specifically bloodbane, in caves to commune with other worlds, to commune with spirits, right? There is a scene where Selena takes bloodbane and says, well, I have the quote. Selena drinks the bloodbane poison. She says she has to end this now before the hallucination started. She knew they'd be powerful. Seers had once used bloodbane as a drug to view the spirits from the other world. And Selena starts hallucinating and seeing all these Valg demons, right? But it's not a hallucination. It's real. We know it's real. She is actually seeing another world. Bloodbane exists in this world. We know that bloodbane exists because that is the arrow, that is the poison that is on the arrows that go through Rhys's wing in Mist and Fury, right? We know that Rhys's mother was taking herbs to try to stop her period. So did she take bloodbane? Did she see the other worlds? That is where my head went with this 6-pointed star. And this is just kind of a little nod to the idea that she is a witch and that she can see that she has that power to see the future or to commune with other worlds when she takes the bloodbane. That's where my thought went. It's like a lot of different pieces being put together. I love your theory though. I love the theory that this is Selene's ring. I think that's fucking great.
I also, like what you described is how you found the 6-pointed star. In both cases, that 6-pointed star was a link to speaking with the dead.
To the dead, exactly. Yeah. So like, who's in the ring?
Get there.
Who's in the ring?
We'll
get there. Oh fuck, that's great. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one.
But who is in the ring? Yeah. I don't know. In this moment, and I could change my mind next week. In this moment, someone's in that ring.
I want to be I feel the need to go on this before we get into this next question because this next question is huge, guys. I want to say that this is a theory. These are theories that will evolve and expand as we continue. If you were with us for Fourth Wing for Empyrean, you know that's kind of how we work. But like, I think I reserve the right to say what I think today might not be what I think tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But we're cooking with fire. I love what we're doing. All right.
Okay, Abby. Is Rhys starborn?
I literally have butterflies. Yes. And ready? There is no such thing as starborn. It is just being an Asteri. And I'm going to tell you why.
Tell me more.
Do you agree with me? Is that what you got to?
It's not what I got to. So now I'm so excited.
Okay.
Because it also doesn't interfere with what I got to. So go.
This is fucking huge. I really, truly think this is like kind of the reveal of the series, if I'm being honest. And I'm 99% sure I'm right. Not 100. I reserve the right to change my mind. My heart is literally racing. I did a little preview of this theory on Instagram. I put up a trial reel with literally just 3 screenshots, 3 fucking quotes. And the title of the trial reel was When You Realize Why Rhys is So Much More Powerful Than All the Other High Lords. And this is the post where a woman accused me of trying to start drama. And I'm like, literally just put up quotes, didn't put up anything. All right. Let's get a little more into the Thea, Helena, Selene, Vesperus backstory, because Vesperus is the key here. These Crescent City chapters are the key. All right. So Vesperus is hold on, I'm going to take my sweater off. I'm too hot. I'm sweating bullets. All right. Vesperus is the Asteri that Bryce finds out of the prison in Crescent City 3. So, right, you just mentioned the whole prison backstory. In Crescent City 3, Bryce accidentally opens up a chamber under the prison. We meet Vesperus, who is an Asteri, who has been living in Prythian in this sarcophagus the whole time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thea, who is Selene and Helena's mother that we mentioned, is the founder of the starborn line in Midgard, but originally came from Prythian. What we know about Thea and Vesperus is that she served Vesperus in Prythian. She was like her lady in waiting, etc. But she helped overthrow the Asteri and kick them out of Prythian. Thea married Fionn, the High King of Prythian, and had 2 daughters, Helena and Selene. After Fionn died, she ruled Prythian, but decided that each of her daughters deserved their own realm. So she opened a portal to Midgard, brought both her daughters over there, but they were tricked by the Asteri into being slaves again. They did not recognize the Asteri when they saw them because Rigelus was disguised as a Fae. Selene made it back. Helena did not, and we get Selene's story in Crescent City 3. Selene creates the prison and traps horrible creatures inside of it to cover up the darkness that the Asteri left behind. You already mentioned, so the first question, is Selene a descendant of Rhys? I think absolutely 100% that is like proven. We don't really
Ancestor,
need to get into it.
Yes. Yeah,
Sorry, yes, 100%. Ancestor.
Yeah.
Asriel comments that Selene looks just like Rhys's sister when he sees the projection of her in the prison. So that is speculation. We get confirmation, right? So Selene, who is starborn, again, Thea's daughter, marries the High Lord of the Night Court and has a son with him. She keys the prison wards to his blood. The prison doors open for Rhys. Rhys says, they're key to my blood. So we know 100% Rhys is a descendant. Rhys is a descendant?
Rhys is a descendant. Yeah. Selene is an ancestor.
Okay. Here are the quotes. So Selene is talking about her son. No one knew. So she brings her son to the prison to key the blood. No one knew that the infant who sometimes glow with starlight inherited from me, that it was the light of the evening star, the dusk star, okay? The light of the evening star, that is the power, that is the starborn power that this child has, the light of the evening star. Then we meet Vesperus. Vesperus and Bryce are talking. Bryce says, "What's your name?" "You may call me Vesperus." The creature's eyes glowed with irritation. "Are you related to Hesperus?" Bryce arched a brow at the name, so similar to one of Midgard's Asteri. "The evening star? I am the evening star," Vesperus seized. It is her power, okay? This child has her power. That is what the starborn line is. Now, I know you might be thinking, how do the Fae have Asteri power? I think there are 2 ways that this could have happened. I think that Thea is Vesperus's daughter. And I'm going to tell you why I think that, all right? When Vesperus meets Bryce, she immediately starts barking at her. She calls her a slave. She's like so mean to her. She's so condescending. She's terrible. So how she reacts to Bryce when she sees her and thinks Bryce is Fae. The female's long nails scraped against the lid of the coffin. She didn't look at them as she tested the lid for weaknesses. "I am your god. I am your master. Do you not know me?" Right? So she is like speaking to Bryce as she would speak to a normal Fae. That is not how she describes Thea. That is not how she speaks about Thea. So she listens, first of all, she listens to Thea, right? So should we know that Vesperus listens to Thea because Vesperus says, "Thea was so charming that day, told me I looked tired and to replenish myself in the crystal here above the well. But she sealed me within instead to let me starve to death over the eons," right? So Thea said, "You look tired. Why don't you rest?" Right? And Vesperus actually listened to her. That's point 1. Point 2, she raised her from childhood. So she says, "It would have been a mercy to kill me." Thea did not understand that word. "I raised her from childhood not to. She could come down here every now and then and stare at me. I slept, but could sense her there, gloating over me, convinced of her triumphs," right? So she's raised her from childhood. Why did she do that? Where were Thea's parents? Third, she trained her, right? So Thea had the gift, Vesperus says, but she did not understand how to claim the light. "I made sure never to reveal how during her training, how she might light up entire worlds if she wished, if she seized the power to amplify her own. But you, light stealer, she must have passed the gift down to you, and it seems you have learned what she did not." Why would Vespers train Thea how to use her starborn powers if Vespers did not herself know how to use those powers? So I think that she's Thea's mother, and Thea could not bring herself to kill Vespers when she killed all these other Asteri. Why did she not kill Vespers, right? There is when Bryce first sees a picture of Thea, she notes the similarity between Thea and Vespers. So she said, Bryce's breath remained caught in her throat, Nesta still as death at her side as the scene shifted to a golden-haired high fae female standing a step behind the Asteri's throne. Her chin was lifted, her face as cold as her mistress's, right? So again, they both have the same cold look. They don't look the same genetically, but they both have the same cold look. Other theory number 2 here, why this still works. Selene and Helena are actually Vesperus's daughters, and they use Thea as a womb. And the reason why that could work is because Thea did not get pregnant for a really long time, and then miraculously has 2 daughters in the span of 5 years, right? So, and we see this with Hunt, right? We see this with Hunt and what the Princes of Hell do with Hunt, where they basically use his mother. It's kind of like a vessel. It's icky. But did Vesperus create Helena and Selene? I don't know why, but did she create Helena and Selene? And are they the ones who are the offspring of Vesperus? I don't think this is necessarily true. I think it's Thea herself. Do you want me to pause? Do you want to react to that so far?
I just want to make sure I'm following. So Vesperus is the mother of Thea, which makes sense because Thea is the one with the light. Like Thea is the first real one that we know of who is starborn. Do you have a thought on who Thea's father is, though?
I don't. I think there is no father. Yeah.
That's
I do not have
I like that a lot better than Vesperus being the mother of Selene and Helene.
So do I.
I think.
So do I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
For many reasons. And I'm going to get into it.
I have very specific reasons why I think that makes more sense.
All right. So specifically, I don't think it's the case because Bryce specifically has Thea's power, right? She grabs the 3 pieces of Thea's power, and Rhys, who has Selene's power, not Helena's, right? So it would not go down through Helena's line. They both have the power of the evening star. So the common thread is Thea, right? It's not Helena and Selene because that is 2 different branches. The common thread is Thea. In Crescent City, chapter 59, the quote is, explain, Bryce orders the demon prince's starlight rippling from her, right? So that sounds like Rhys, right? Bryce also makes stars appear around her and Hunt when they're having sex. Those were quotas. Those were actual stars dancing around them, filling the room. Rhys, of course, does this in Frost and Starlight. With Feyre, the quote is, this is a little racy. I'm going to read the second sentence. Stars flickered around us, sweet darkness sweeping in as if we were the only souls in the galaxy. And still Rhys remained before me, my legs wrapped around his waist. So that's Frost and Starlight, chapter 22. The other one, and this is the big one for me, when we meet Vesperus, she is wearing a crown of stars, okay? So Vesperus' description, there was no mistaking the cold, otherworldly eyes. She lounged in golden robes, a crown of stars upon her head. Her red lips pulled back in a cold smile as her hand closed tightly around the seat of power. So, and again, this is Selene's projection.
Yeah.
We have to put together that it's Vesperus, but Thea is behind her. You can tell that it's Vesperus. She's wearing the golden robe that she is wearing when Bryce meets her. So Vesperus is wearing a crown of stars. When Hunt sees Bryce on Avalon, her chin lifted and he could have sworn a crown of stars glimmered around her head. I want to wipe them off the face of the planet, she said. And though her voice was soft, nothing but pure predatory rage filled it. So he sees this crown of stars around her on Avalon. Later in the Asteri Palace, he sees it too. So she says, I promised myself that day Mike had cut off your wings. Bryce said, still just for him, that they'd pay for it what they'd done. Starlight flickered around her head in a shadow of that crown of stars. Rhys also wears a crown of stars to the Court of Nightmares, right? So like it all goes back to Vesperus. Vesperus is the source of this power. Vesperus is the source of this starborn power. I have more. We could get into it, but once you see it, guys,
I believe you.
It is there. Like it is Vesperus's power. The starborn power is Vesperus's power of the evening star. I'm not saying she is the only one. I think there could be other Asteri powers in play here, but there is no such thing as starborn. It is just being a descendant of an Asteri.
Well, it's starborn Fae are a Fae bloodline that has Asteri blood in it.
Exactly.
Which makes sense.
Exactly.
I guess the only and it actually even goes further and makes sense in that the starborn light needs to be charged, and so do the Asteri.
What is Bryce's drop? What is her drop if it is not absorbing first light? Like, that is exactly what she does. That is exactly what she does. Do you want to hear a really fun tie that I found? So Vesperus describes multiple times in this chapter that she sees things through dreams, right? So she sees Thea dancing on her grave in dreams. She sees the middle in her dreams. Who else do we know who sees the world through dreams? Rhys. Rhys sees Feyre's life through her dreams. Rhys sees Feyre's mortal life through her eyes in her dreams, right?
Yeah.
And then she sees him when she's on the spring court. Like, there's so much. Once you see it, there's so much. Physical characteristics. So for Rhys, his short black hair gleamed like a raven's feathers, offsetting his pale skin, and blue eyes so deep they were violet. Even in the firelight, they twinkled with amusement as he beheld me. For Vesperus, we get, as if in answer to Azriel's question, the female in the coffin opened her eyes. They were a crushing blue, and they glowed. So we have the glowing blue eyes. Her dark hair, it was too dark somehow. It didn't reflect the light at all. It shouldn't have existed in nature. So we have the crushing blue eyes. We have the hair that is so dark that it absorbs the light. Like, it's Vesperus. This is Vesperus's line. That is what is happening here. And I'm like, 99% on this one, guys. This is the one that I'm like so sure of. And again, if you go back and read Crescent City, there is a moment at the end of Crescent City where Bryce absorbs Ridilus's powers. Like, he touches her and she absorbs his power. And then when they're in the black hole, when they're in the void, the exact same thing happens with another Asteri. Like, Bryce is just, and like, she just has the Asteri bloodline, the Asteri power. Like, that is what is happening here. There are so many similarities. There is a counterpoint here, because at one point she does ask the Princes of Hell if she is an Asteri. So she says, is it the same power as the Asteris? She hadn't realized how much the question had been weighing on her, eating at her. No, Apollyon cut in, scowling. They are similar in their ability to destroy, but the Asteri's power is a blunt, wicked tool of destruction. Adis added, eyes shining with sympathy, Starfire's ability to destroy is but one facet of a wondrous gift. The greatest difference, of course, lies in how the bearer chooses to use it. So Apollyon says yes, but Adis, who was Thea's mate, does not say that it's not the same power, right? Yeah. He says it's about how you wield it. So I think this was Sarah J. Maas kind of hedging here. And like, Apollyon doesn't know that it's the same power, but maybe Adis does.
Yeah. Okay. So Rhys is starborn. Rhys has Asteri blood.
And that's why he's so much more powerful than all the High Lords. That's the missing piece.
Asteri blood? Like, that means a lot of people have Asteri blood, right?
Potentially. Yeah.
Bryce has Asteri blood for sure. Ruhn does.
Yeah.
Rhys'
Do you want me to bring up my full list
of people who have Asteri blood? I guess it's the same as the list of the starborn. So we have that.
Kind of. Okay. I was debating whether or not to go on this tangent, but fuck it, we're gonna go on it. Do you remember the theory we had a couple of episodes ago about Daemati just being? Well, actually, I can't talk about it yet. Never mind. We'll do it later. But yes, there are a lot of people who are potentially starborn, including Feyre, and we'll get to it later. Well, we'll get to it in the Feyre episode.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, I believe it. I don't think we've had a great explanation for like what this light actually comes from. So
we absolutely have not. We have never gotten this explanation. And I think that light is simply one piece of this power. Like, it is possible that this is just raw power, and the light, I have literally a whole list going, and again, we might get to it in Crescent City, but there are a lot of powers that I think are associated with being starborn that are not just this starfire light. Like Ruhn, when he takes the potion, he can heal, right? Who else do we know who can heal? Irene, right? Like, there's healing, there's light, there's Daemati, there's all this stuff that is associated with being starborn that, like, I think just all leads back to this bloodline.
Yeah. I guess the only thing we don't see, and I don't think this is necessarily a point against it because of the next question, but we don't see Rhys wield Starlight.
We do not. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. We do not.
But all that really means is...
Well, we know that Ruhn only has a kernel of it before
only
he
has
takes...
a little bit. Yeah.
Right. So I think this is kind of what I'm getting to. I think the Starlight is one facet of this power. I don't think it's all of this power. We absolutely see him wield the Evening Star, the night stuff, right? Like, that is definitely there.
Yeah.
But we don't see him wield Starlight, but we do see Feyre wield Starlight, right?
Yep, sure do.
So, and where does she get that from?
Hillian.
Or Rhys. Or Rhys gave it to her.
Yeah. One of the High Lords.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay. Whew, I need to.
I know. I'm sorry.
Relax.
That was like, I literally figured this out. I started jumping on the bed. You were on a flight to Italy. I was like, I'm not going to bother her, but I cannot fucking wait to record this episode.
Okay. Answering this next one is going to be.
Well, do you have thoughts on this one?
My answer was yes. And all of the same like points linking Rhys to the starborn ancestors. But my counterpoint was like starlight as we know it has not been seen in Rhys. That being said, like it's said to skip generations. I want to talk more at some point in a actual starborn episode about whether it really skips generations. Because as we just discussed, I'm not convinced on Einar. I'm not convinced.
I'm not either.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But I mean, I obviously did not link it to a Asteri bloodline, but that's okay. Yeah.
Well, right. But like also why is Danica like we haven't gotten a full explanation into why Danica was so interested, like why Danica's bloodline research was so important, right?
Yeah.
I think it's this. I think this is the piece of it.
Yeah. Which I mean, it wouldn't be the first time in this universe that like the big bad have interbred. Like,
exactly.
It's not that. I mean, it's crazy, but it's not like that crazy. Like
I think we
Dorian
have to answer the next question, and then I think we have to get into it.
All right, so I have a bit of a monologue for this one, so just bear with me. It might be a totally different place than where you went, but I can't get it out of my head. So our next question is Rhys Valg? This is probably the most popular Maasverse theory on the internet. So I want to start by talking about how we define and understand Valg, because I think people also conflate this with the question of, is Rhys evil?
Mm-hmm.
I think those are two different questions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make that very clear. I'm focused on, is Rhys Valg? That's the focus of this question for me. And I want to define Valg. So we and the whole fandom have historically, probably before we dug into this series, thought of them as parasitic beings identified by giving their hosts black eyes and being killed by beheading. But I want to talk about everything we know about them just as facts, like just how we learn about them. We are first introduced to the Valg in Throne of Glass when Dorian seeks out Baba Yellowlegs to learn more about his magic. Baba Yellowlegs reveals that witches either inherited their lifespans from the Fae or the Valg. She's not sure which one. Dorian registers the name Valg and remembers them as demons who stole Fae for breeding, who invaded Aurelia at the dawn of time. Baba Yellowlegs later confirms them as demons from another realm. We first see actual Valg in this series that we know of, Verm Valg, when Selena first faces down actual Valg in Heir of Fire. She recognizes the Valg as three things inside mortal bodies. Those three things call themselves princes of our realm and cite that their realm is a realm of eternal dark and ice and wind. Side note here, that is actually part one of the main point. There are another set of beings in this universe that take other forms and come from a world of dark and ice. Apollyon is one of the 7 princes of hell, specifically the prince of the pit, presents himself in dreams as different beings. We'll come back to what he presents himself as in a minute. Adis is the prince of the chasm, and that's the 5th circle, and typically presents himself to Bryce in cat form. When Adis visits Bryce in Lunathian, and in other times when the princes visit, the temperature drops rapidly, and the room literally coats with ice to dangerous levels. Like hell is a world of ice. Okay, so we've got a hint that maybe the Valg could be connected to hell. Let's keep pulling on just like the Valg history thread. The next important thing that we learn about the Valg is from Maeve, who we later find out is Valg, that there are many races, and they are ruled by princes who have no bodies to occupy except for those they infiltrate. She says there aren't many princes, but she once witnessed an entire legion of Fae warriors devoured by 6 of them in hours. Apollyon is famously called Star Eater. He has a black hole for a mouth, so devoured is a very interesting choice of words here. Later in Throne of Glass, Duke Parrington cites that his allies from another realm, who are the Valg, want to breed with witches as a sort of experiment. We also know that the princes of hell bred and experimented with different species themselves, creating thunderbirds, Hunt Athalar, who was basically an experiment of genetic modeling by Apollyon, and Thanatos, who is the prince of the ravine. And then finally, we see 2 Valg royals in the flesh in Throne of Glass, right? Erewhon who takes the form of a golden-haired male with golden eyes, said to look exactly like Manon's, and Maeve, who was described as a raven-haired beauty with black, depthless eyes, except for one moment where she's said to have violet, starry eyes. So how does this all relate to Rhys's lineage? Well, there are a few specific parallels that we can draw here. First, we've talked about this at length at this point. Maeve, Rhys, and Ruhn all have violet blue, starry eyes, and raven black hair. Maeve is said to be Valg, and Ruhn is said to be starborn. Second, there is this common thread of ice and wind and dark. Rhys, in the midst of his nightmare in A Court of Mist and Fury, is freezing. His skin was freezing, his breath was icy, there was so much wind that Feyre's hair was whipping around her. And third, Apollyon has presented himself to Hunt and Bryce, each independently in their dreams, and presents himself in Hunt's dreams as a being with leathery wings. Finally.
Well, and
Rhys
presents in Bryce's dreams as golden-haired.
As golden-haired,
golden skinned. Yeah.
Yeah, and golden skin, just like Erewhon. Yeah. And then finally, we've talked about this at length at this point too. This is descended from Thea. Selene looks just like Rhys's sister. We have been told that Thea and Fionn had Helena and Selene, but we also know that Adis was Thea's mate. So where I'm going with all of this, and then I'll pause to react. I think the Valg are actually a variety of races from Hell. I think the Valg are from Hell. I think Erewhon and Maeve were royalty, and the other parasitic Valg were others or other races or lesser beings. And I think Rhys and like all of his like mishmash of powers that is so different from everybody else is both starborn, Asteri, and descended from Hell, possibly from a line started by Adis and Thea.
Great. Because I think the Asteri and the Valg are the same thing. So we're now saying all three of these things are the same thing.
Okay.
Which I have thought when reading this, because I at least think they're all from the same homeworld. Do you want me to read my quotes, or do you want to keep going?
I guess before you read your quotes, like I'm not saying I disagree, but if the Asteri and the Valg are the same thing, which I'm not disagreeing with, because like this whole eye color trend is actually just a farce, right? Like there's no consistent eye colors other than just like tying lineage to each other.
Yeah.
Like Erewhon has gold eyes. Maeve has like violet eyes, but sometimes black. Like that's not really valid. But in Crescent City, the series, the Princes of Hell are like trying to banish and have banished the Asteri. So are they just like opposing parties from the same world?
I think that is probably what is happening here. I have that in my notes. I didn't bring in the Princes of Hell into this, but I have had that thought many times because the description of the homeworld between the Valg, Asteri, and Hell are so similar. And the reason I think the Asteri and the Valg are the same are specifically because of words that are used when describing those races. And I can get into it. I've had this thought too. Like there's just so much similarity between the three of them. Like I think we're dealing with factions. I think we're dealing with a civil war. I think we're dealing with a complex society here and not just like one thing.
Okay.
Should I?
Okay.
Let me read my
go
quotes,
for it.
and then we'll keep talking because I think this is a fucking great conversation. All right. So the reason I think they're the same thing. We have quotes from Maeve in Kingdom of Ash when she is describing the Valg world, right? I have this in a couple places. So the first one is Maeve telling Aelin a story about the Valg. She says, telling her a story about a queen who walked between worlds, who had not been content in the realm in which she'd been born and had found a way to leave it, using the lost knowledge of ancient wayfarers, world walkers. So we have wayfarers and world walkers here. Those are the keywords. I am a world walker, Maeve said. I have traveled between universes. Do you think moving between rooms would be so hard? These are all random quotes. It was, and the more she read about these other worlds where long-dead wayfarers had once roamed, the more she wanted to see them. And then our last quote, using the very language of existence itself, doors might be opened, however briefly, between worlds. It was forbidden, outlawed, long before her husband and his brothers were born. Once the last of the ancient wayfarers had died out, our paths between realms were sealed, their methods of world walking lost with them. Or so all had thought. But deep in her husband's private library, she found the old spells. She began with small experiments. First, she opened a door to the realm of resting to find those wayfarers and ask how it was properly done. A knowing smile. The wayfarer refused to tell her, so the queen began to teach herself. So those are the quotes we have from Maeve about wayfarers and world walkers. When we meet Maasverse, Bryce says, Where did you come from before you arrived here? Vespris folded her hands in her lap. A planet that was once green as this one is. And that wasn't good enough? We grew too populous. Wars broke out between the various beings on our world. Some of us saw the changes in the land beginning. Rivers run dry, clouds so thick the suns could not pierce them, and left. Our brightest minds found ways to bend the fabric of worlds, to travel between them. Wayfarers, we called them, world walkers. So I think it has to be the same planet. But she says there are various beings on our world, right? So I think it's the same planet. They may not all be the same things, but I think like the same species. But like I do think they're all from the same place because the similarities are just too crazy. And we're using the same words with Valg and Asteri here.
Yeah. How do we have a link of the Asteri world to Dark and Ice? Is that like, are they just saying that world like died basically and became a world of Dark and Ice?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, rivers run dry, clouds so thick the sun could not pierce them, and left, which is what Maeve says happened to the Valg homeworld, right? Basically, like war broke out.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, guys, as we said, like the theories will evolve. This is absolutely one of those theories that will evolve. I'm not necessarily willing to like stake my claim here, but there are so many points where she specifically draws this similarity.
Yeah. Okay. Because I think I'm definitely bought on Starborn being Fey with Asteri blood. I'm obviously bought on Valg and Hell. I think I need to think more about Asteri and Valg having the same homeworld. I mean, the same terminology makes obviously a lot of sense, but they've met before. So is that terminology a product of when they've met, or are they actually from the same place?
Well, they both are claiming the Wayfarers, which I think is interesting. Like they're both saying, these are ours, right? And I absolutely have to think more about this too. This was not our Valg
because like the Princes of Hell banished them from their realm.
Well, the Princes of Hell specifically say that like our magic could not sustain them. Like they did not find our magic compatible with them, which is why I wasn't 100% on the Princes of Hell and the Asteri being the same thing.
Yeah.
There's another option here. So it is possible that they're not the same, but that the Asteri conquered the homeworld of the Valg when Bryce finds the Asteri timeline in House of Sky and Breath. There is a planet called Ephraxia that the Valg conquered and left within 40 years. So it's not Aralea, that the Asteri conquered and left within 40 years. So it's not Aralea because they're in Aralea for hundreds of years. So it's possible that that's what's happening here. But there is also, we've talked about Rhys and Maeve and this connection between them, right? Like Aelin or Dorian, I don't remember who, I didn't pull the quote, at one point describes the feeling of Maeve in their minds as black talons, right? Black talons scraping on their mind. It's exactly the same way that Rhys's Daemati powers are described. And I think we are in agreement now that Rhys is Asteri, right? So like, I think it has to be the same because there's so many like genetic similarities.
Well, not if he's also a descendant of Valg and they're a separate species.
Sure.
Like that.
Yeah, that works. He is both Valg and Asteri and a Prince of Hell descendant. To get to your point earlier about theories on the internet, I do think we should talk about this. We are not saying that Rhys is possessed by a Valg, right? That is not what we're saying at all. We are saying that he is actually a Valg descendant, potentially, in the way that Maeve is also not possessed by a Valg or possessing a Fey body. She just exists as she is, right?
Yes. I still, until I read more myself, I'm still of the mind that Rhys has a starborn line, also has a Valg line, but to me, Valg are just from Hell. Like, it's just a crossbreed of Asteri and Hell.
Yeah, could be. Wait, one sec. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So this was a point to your point. I had this because in the Asteri timeline, they say AE 17,001 lost Hell. That's in their timeline, lost Hell. But they never say when they conquered Hell. Yeah. That's not on the timeline. This timeline begins in 680 to 17,001. So like, were they always on Hell? Like, was Hell their homeworld? And did they try to conquer? Oh, well, hold on. This would mean, well, now I'm just in circles. All right. Did they try to conquer the Valg? You're saying the Valg and the Princes of Hell are the same, right?
I'm saying the Valg are from Hell.
The Valg are from Hell. They tried to conquer Hell, but they
and the princes
found that
of the Valg realm are also Princes of Hell. We've only met
also
3
Princes
of them.
Of Hell. Yeah, we've only met 3 of both of them. Well, we know the 4 other ones are missing. They're just out. They're just
Yeah.
out fighting the Asteri, is what Adis
Yeah.
or Apollyon tells us. I don't remember who.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we do have more questions than answers. Well, Vesper says there are various beings. She says wars broke out between the various beings on our world, right? So there's multiple.
And Maeve has said the same thing about the Valg. There's various species.
Right. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking the same planet. I'm thinking they're all three from the same planet. And guys, this is not the last time we're going to talk about this. We will get into this more.
What is Rhys? Rhys is all of them.
By the way, being made, same thing. We'll get there. Same thing.
Well, yeah, since we're in Maasverse, like being made, we need to figure out like what role the cauldron actually plays, if any, because the cauldron's homeworld is Prythian.
Yeah,
Like,
but
the
it's
cauldron
been
is from
corrupted
Prythian.
by the Asteri.
But it was warped, yeah, by the Asteri.
Right. So
Yeah.
what power do Elaine and Nesta have? The Asteri power, which is the starborn power.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we said it would be a big episode, guys.
All right. Just to wrap up, in conclusion, so your argument is that Asteri and Valg are the same things because of the Wayfarers and the world walking and the similarities of the descriptions of the world, like different factions, species of people, war broke out. I think the Valg are actually from Hell, and I think that Rhys could be descended from both the Starborn Fae and Hell.
And I think they might all work.
Maybe both of those are true, and Rhys is just Asteri.
Yeah, that's what I think.
But he has his own. Yeah, we need to talk more about it. We'll talk more about it. He has his own power. He doesn't need to leech off of anybody. But they also,
he doesn't need to leech off of anybody.
The beings in Prythian are one with the power of the land.
Yeah. So that is a point I wanted to bring up here, because there are obvious differences between Valg and Asteri, right? Like there's like Valg are like black and oily, and Asteri are like angelic and white. Vespers has a line, I see if I can find the exact quote, but it's basically like, I drink of the land's magic and the land's magic drink from me. So like,
yeah,
I think that the Asteri adapt to whatever world they're on. I think so. Like if the land's magic is like black and oily, that's what they adapt to. That's why they appear black. If they are Valg, that's why they appear black and oily in Aralea. And in Midgard, we know they feed off first light, which is like light, right? So like that's why they appear like first light in like white angelic beings in Midgard. That's my thinking.
Yeah, and that sure as hell sounds a lot like Kalanmai, which famously only Tamlin does. All right, we gotta...
Guys, this is the beginning. We'll talk more about it, but in future episodes.
Okay. Do you have a Precog corner theory?
I have two.
Okay.
Right, so I want to go back to our Weaver theory, what we were talking about before, and kind of do my full Maasverse Weaver theory here, right? So we know the Weaver is a death god. We know there is a quote that the death gods were kind of the pets of the Asteri, made by the Asteri. We know she also bleeds black when she dies, right? So that's another link between the Valg and the Asteri, because we've been told that they're the pets of the Asteri, but we are getting a Weaver who bleeds black. Vesperus also bleeds black, by the way, when she dies. So that is another link between the Valg and the Asteri. So the Weaver is Valg / was made by the Valg / is Asteri. So her and Rhys are the same, right? Feyre gets a kernel of Rhys's power, and when she is thinking about Rhys, the Weaver does not find her. That's why, because they are both Valg, right? Because they both have this Valg Asteri bloodline within them, or like some connection to it, whether it's a magical tie or something. But it's not just Rhys and Feyre, it is Rhys and the Feyre and the Weaver now all having these magical ties to each other. And that is why the Weaver does not find her until she starts to kind of reject that idea and starts to think about her humanity. So that's my full Maasverse theory on that one.
Okay. I like it. What's your next one?
Oh, you want to do my next one?
Yeah.
I want to revisit our idea about Amarantha prepping for the Asteri with the hearts, right? With the stone hearts. Like at the time we just threw that out, we were like, that's kind of crazy, right? But if Valg and Asteri are the same thing, she makes Under the Mountain her stronghold, which was once an Asteri palace. Feyre talks about all the carvings that are on the walls, which is also an Asteri thing, right? To like have all these carvings on the walls, or at least carvings that the Fae did them, but they depict the pictures of the Asteri, which they call the Daglin. But we know that that is what is in the prison. And Feyre remarks that there's carvings on the walls under the mountain. So I think it's totally reasonable to think that there are also carvings of the Asteri under the mountain.
Yep.
The quote is, that small part of me that had again become trivial and useless, noted that the carvings weren't just ornate designs, but actually depicted fairies and high fae and animals in various environs and states of movement. Countless stories of Prythians were etched on them, right? So there could be pictures of the Asteri on there too. If the Valg and the Asteri are the same, then the idea that Amarantha was actually making space, was actually creating space, to use your words, for the Asteri to come. Because I think Asteri travel in packs of 7, which would mean that the Valg thing doesn't work, right? But like Vesperus says, there's a Vesperus in Prythian and there is a Hesperus in Midgard, right? Which kind of implies to me that they travel in these packs of like 7 very similar like groups. I don't know, but we have the 7 High Lords. I think that the Asteri travel in packs of 7. So I think the idea that she was making space for the Asteri to come and kind of conquer these worlds does actually work. And we don't know what the Asteri look like when they first arrive at a world, right? So like we know, you mentioned it before, that Erwin eventually doesn't need a human body to inhabit. He can have his own body. So if the Asteri are trying to infiltrate a world or trying to sneak in, right? I think that's when they inhabit the body so that no one suspects that anything is different, right? That's how they kind of like sneak into society. And then once they've like kind of conquered enough, exactly what Erewhon does, right? Then they shed their skin. Then they show kind of their like true form, true colors, which is not actually their true form, we know. But then they like are like, okay, here I am as a person. So I think that theory works. I think it'd be crazy, but I think it works.
Yeah, I think it works. Okay. I mean, there are also 7 princes of hell, but I don't think they...
Right, traveling in packs of 7.
Yeah, but they don't travel together, seemingly.
No, so far they don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 7 is everywhere in these books.
Yeah, there's 7s everywhere. Yeah, I think it works. That only works, I think, if they truly are all the same. Hell, Valg, Asteri. Because Amarantha, whether you're a witch or a Stygian spider, that's Valg connected. So if she's prepping for the Asteri, she's either a traitor or it's the same. Okay. My Precog corner theory was also played off Amarantha just because was our last episode and I had nothing left in the tank on Rhys's family. But it is like Valg related. So we talked about Amarantha potentially being a Stygian spider or witch. And I actually I have questions about Striga too, I'm going to be honest, because she is described as a spider in her home. But I actually can think of one like pretty overt spider reference that has nothing to do with Amarantha or Striga that we see in Prythian. It was inspired by a social media shout out. And so I'll give some credit here to Cats on the South Side. I don't know what kind of gang you're running on the South Side. Sounds like it's one full of cats. But last episode we talked about spiders. So we see silk absolutely everywhere in this series. But Cats on the South Side pointed out that the weaver in Valaris could have an interesting connection to spiders. So there's a weaver in Valaris in Frost and Starlight that weaves this fabric called Void after her husband dies in the war. And Void is like an absence of color to represent her feeling of loss, and she stitches into it a fabric called Hope. It's actually a really beautiful moment. Well, that woman's name is Aranea, and Araneus is a species of weaver spider. There are spiders in Prythian.
Okay, and the Void, Apollyon's father. All of the princes of hell come from the Void. So the princes of hell are the sons. We found this out in House of Sky and Breath. The princes of hell said that they are birthed from the Void and from chaos. But the Void comes up all the time, especially in Crescent City.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Throne of Glass, like when Selena first opens a portal, she says it's a portal to the Void. Like the Void is all over this thing. I am very much like, who is this woman? Who is the weaver? Because or not the weaver, who is Aranea? Because
who is Araneus?
She seems to know something. Araneus.
Yeah. And Apollyon has the power. They call his power the power of the Void. That's how he devours the heart of Sirius.
Yeah.
Lots of Void. They're from hell.
The Void is coming. The Void is coming.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how this fire magic works against the Void.
Can I say a thought that just popped into my mind? Because I was just rereading this, and it actually kind of ties into everything we've been saying here. It's in Crown of Midnight. So the second Throne of Glass book, when I think Selena is talking to Baba Yellowlegs, but I don't remember exactly. And she's describing, Baba Yellowlegs is describing the word and what the word is. And what she says is, I don't have the exact quote, but it's like basically like the word is the force that keeps planets apart. Right now, you could be standing at the bottom of the ocean on another world, but you wouldn't know, which I think is what we're talking about here, right? There's all these similarities between the Valg homeworld, the Hell homeworld, the Asteri homeworld. There's also similar, like, there's 7 levels of hell. There's 7 high courts in Prythian. Like, we've talked about the fucking weirdness of the maps, right? Like, and this is obviously a precog theory. Like, what if it is literally just all the same planet, just like different? It's not world traveling. It's like dimension traveling, like timeline traveling. Like, this is all taking place in the same place, but then there's parallel universes. Basically, that's what's happening here.
Well, and that, so when Bryce goes to Prythian, it's not a down, it's a yank across. And in Prythian, when Gwyn is talking about Meryl's work, she says that the last realm is thought to be time. So I think there's a very real scenario where everything is on top of each other. Like, we get that in Avalon and the prison, right? Like the Dusk Court.
Right.
We get like an allusion to the fact that this could literally be the same place. And so I think it's very possible that it's all on top of each other. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We really got into it this episode.
Yeah. We'll have to listen back to this and maybe think about some breakouts. But Abby, what are you reading?
Back in Throne of Glass World. So I'm reading Air of Fire because I read Crescent City and I was like, holy shit, there's so many answers here. I think I just have to reread Throne of Glass to figure out what the fuck the Valg are. So I'm reading Air of Fire. I just started it. But as previously mentioned, I will also read the Spell Shop when I am done with Throne of Glass because I promised I would if someone gave us the name, and they did. So I'm looking forward to that. What are you reading?
Yeah, I need to reread Crescent City. So I read, while I was on vacation, I read I Am Pilgrim.
Yeah.
I needed a break from fantasy. I was like fantasied out. I was like intricate plotted out. I didn't get a break from that with I Am Pilgrim, but I Am Pilgrim by Terry Hayes, I really liked it. So it's not fantasy, obviously. It's more, it's not even sci-fi. It's just thriller. Like, if you liked Dan Brown's books, I think you would like I Am Pilgrim.
What is it about?
So the premise is hard to give without giving too much away, but basically it's about an intelligence agent, a US intelligence agent, and like unwinding, mysteries that really tie back into one big plot. One of my friends was saying that she thought the book was very patriot, which is definitely true. It tells the story of 2 people. One is the US intelligence agent, and then another is a jihadist originally from Saudi Arabia. And so like you get these 2 parallel stories of these 2 people and like how their lives like intertwine and converge.
Fun.
It was good. It was mystery. Obviously it's mystery and it's fiction, so hard to go wrong. And now I need to pick up Shepherd King, but I think I'm going to read Crescent City in parallel with that. I think we're good.
Okay.
Guys, we went through a lot in this episode. We got to preserve some energy for our next one. We love you. You can find us on social media. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Dragons in the Details Pod is our handle. We have an email address if you want to leave a longer message than can fit into DMs, which is dragonsinthedetailspod@gmail.com. And we have a Discord. Everything's linked in our bios. So find us on Instagram, find us on TikTok, go to the link in our bio. There's a bunch of stuff. You can submit book recs. You can view other people's book recs. We're trying our best to build a fun fantasy community here on our little corner of the internet. Anything else?
Nope. Love you. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye.